Well, thank you, Phil. Certainly appreciate our relationship with DMI and the DMI University guys. If you've not been taking advantage of the content on DMI University, you really need to take some time. There's so much valuable information on there to help you grow your business. And that's really what this is all about. Uh, Partial Roth conversions are not going to be for every client. I'm going to say that from the beginning. I'm going to say it loud and clear. You have to have a specific client with specific desires. This is a fairly short presentation. Um, and it's just really to try and pique your interest to see, is this a market you need to be in? There are only a couple annuity carriers out there that can do these. And I think that we do it the best of any company out there in the marketplace. So let's talk a little bit about partial Roth conversion. I will also discuss a little bit about our efficient frontier research on our index selections. And then we'll talk about a couple of the product solutions that may come into play. We're not going to be on here very long today. It's just to plant the seed, and we can go deeper with you on a one-on-one basis with your DMA marketer. So if I look back, I think, Ben Franklin said it best, and you guys probably know the answer to this. The only two things guaranteed in life are what? Their death and the almighty taxes. Taxes. I mean, this is a sore point for everybody out there under the sun. I know myself living in New York and getting triple taxed and real estate tax. I mean, it's just what I could have bought for all the money I've paid in taxes. I could have been retired and had two retirement homes. You know what I mean? So it comes down to one thing. Whether you like it or you don't, you always have a partner, and that's Uncle Sam. And they want to get paid, and they want to get paid now, and they want to get paid later. And sometimes when you wait till later, they actually get more. So they're not too upset if you want to pay your taxes later on, because they know they're going to get more out of you. So here's a little quote. The best things in life are free, but sooner or later, the government's going to find a way to tax them. And I don't know who said it, but really what it comes down to, I wish I was the tax man. I want it all too, right? Being the federal government, we right now are in a very low tax rate environment. If you go back in the history of tax rates, we're in the lowest environment we've ever been. And we also have the highest debt out there right now. So it's only a matter of time before they start raising income tax rates. And it's going to get a little bit tougher as we proceed as a country. So Roth conversion, we're going to talk today about the road to tax-free income. And when it comes down to this, it really comes down to one item. And if your client doesn't have this, then don't waste your time. Your clients got to have a tax-free income desire. They have to want and be sick of paying taxes. They have to want to have tax-free income. If they don't have that desire, then don't spend any time showing them any presentations or anything. You're just wasting your time. They've got to want more to keep more of what they've made and what they've worked for. And if they don't, then don't even stop right now and be done with it. The second thing to think about is, does the math make sense? Does paying the tax now for tax-free income later work? Because if the math doesn't make sense, although they have that desire, it's still not maybe a viable solution because the math may not add up. And lastly, you got to make it easy. And we've done that already for you at Athene. We have a simple app process using our Athene app, and you have a partial Roth conversion capability. Every year you can convert a portion, and the portion can change in dollar amount. It's as easy as submitting one form, and we'll go through that in a little while. So first question is, will taxes be higher in the future? A couple things to think about. Taxes are currently at an all-time historical low. I think we'll all agree on that. No one will disagree with that. Number two, the federal deficit is growing on a daily basis. Just think of how much we went in the hole for the federal stimulus packages and how we continue to do that. And then we also have a lot of foreigners that are entering the country today that are also having an impact on the US government and making our deficit even greater. Number three, Social Security is going to be having some challenges in the future. And if you don't believe that, look at your Social Security statement. On your Social Security statement, it's going to give you an estimate of income. However, it's going to be an asterisk, and it's saying in that asterisk, it says, I think it's the year 2034, that expect Social Security benefits to be decreased unless something is done in the future. So that's a serious, serious problem, guys. Lastly, inherited qualified IRAs are highly taxed. They're taxed very much, along with estate taxes may be on the rise. So these are the seeds to plant with your client and things to think about and to talk about with your client to see, do they have this desire to have tax-free income because of these 5 forces that are out there in the environment today? And what about inflation? I mean, for the last 12 years, I think inflation's, if you take out last year, was at like 2.67%. Last year it was at 7, and I think the most recent inflation number is 8.5%. So we know that it's growing very. Inflation is hitting its mark. Matter of fact, for the last 12 months, when this was done back in July of last year, it was 5.4%. It was 8.5% last month inflation. So it's going up. Is there an alternative to escalating taxes? And I would say yes. And if there isn't, then we wouldn't have this presentation. And the whole concept is surrounding what? Partial Roth conversions. And so you're going to sit down with a client, you're going to talk about income for life and converting some assets. And you know what it comes down to, some clients are going to say, taxes now, taxes later, who cares? Anyway, so I said I'm going to pay taxes, so why would I consider this? And really what your job as an advisor is to share with them that you are going to show them what the word tax efficiency is. You have to explain them that you want to show them a strategy to identify the optimal time to pay taxes and minimize their overall tax liability. And that's really hard to do sometimes. But if you can show a client or illustrate to a client that it's in their advantage to pay the taxes today at a lower bracket and then have tax-free income for life down the road, that is what we call tax efficient planning. And we do that with the Social Security program and the Athene Retirement Optimizer tool with DMI. But this is something that you can do also with partial Roth conversions. Bottom line is this, guys. Nobody likes to pay taxes, but we want to show you how you can let your assets work smarter by being tax efficient versus working hardable and having a taxable investment. And the key is that you get to control when you want to pay taxes. And basically, there's only 3 types. You can pay now, pay later, or tax-free. And we're hoping that tax-free is in your mindset. Let's talk about the strategy. And the strategy really comes down to this. You're looking to convert IRA or qualified assets to a Roth IRA over time. So essentially, we're paying taxes today in exchange for tax-free growth and tax-free income later. Now, every time I convert money over from an IRA to a Roth, I have a minimum 5-year hold to have tax-free growth and tax-free income later. I can still get at my principal because I've already paid the taxes on that. But for the growth and the tax-free income later, it needs to be 5 years older for each conversion. And that's critical, guys. The target market for us is from age 55 and 72. Now, not saying you can't do it for somebody 40, 45 that's making a little less money, that understands that the longer they have time to convert assets, number one, and the longer time they have to accumulate assets in a Roth, the better off they're going to be in retirement. But usually the target ages are between 55 and 72 before the client starts taking the required minimum distribution. And what they can do is they can start doing partial conversions from Roth to a Roth IRA when the marginal tax brackets are lower, as they are. And the best part about it is they get to control the taxes by converting just enough to stay in that lower tax bracket. So if they're in the 33% or 30% tax bracket, and they've got another $20,000 of AGI before they hit the next level, which is 33%, then you may do a $20,000 conversion this year. And next year they may have made more income, and they're already pushing that bracket. You may want to skip a year. And the following year, you might be able to do more. Maybe you could do 30,000. So every year you have that ability to control whether you want to make a conversion or whether you don't want to make a conversion, and what that dollar amount is. Now, if you're going from 30 to 33, that's not a huge tax increase. But if you're going from 20 to 28, that's a pretty big bump up, and your client may not want to go above that threshold with their AGI and get taxed on all of their income by an additional 8%. So that's the key. The key is we want to convert just enough to stay in the current tax bracket that the client is in. In order to do this, there are some considerations that you want to have in your back pocket. The best way to do that is to have a taxable account to help you pay those conversion costs. If you have a taxable account, just makes it so much easier. You could convert the entire amount and then just pay the taxes out of pocket. It makes life a lot easier. Now, if you're going to need your traditional IRAs for retirement income, the big question is going to be when. Because if you're 63 and you're retiring next year and you're going to start taking income next year, then conversion is not probably for you at this point. You're probably better off just leaving it where it is and just start to pull out your income when you need it at 63. So those are some of the things you have to look at and analyze. And lastly, you also got to look at, are tax rates going to be higher for you at distribution versus contribution? And for me, contribution and or conversion rates today are going to be lower than what they're going to be in the future. If we look at all that data we have about how we're going to have to rise our tax rates, the opportunity is now right in front of you. Take the advantage of this conversion strategy and slowly start converting assets for your client. Now, keep in mind, it's not for every client, guys. You have to evaluate this strategy on a case-by-case basis. They've got to have the wants, and they got to want and the desire to have tax-free income. The math has to make sense, and you have to make it easy. What are the benefits? Once you convert, after 5 years of conversion, for every conversion and 59.5, the growth is tax-free. RMDs are no longer required, and all distributions are income tax-free. And guess what, guys? Roth IRAs are tax-free to beneficiaries as well. So that's the whole opportunity. It's not only for the family today for their income down the road, but it's also for the next generation to protect these assets for your clients' heirs. Other considerations to take in mind, guys. Where are you going to live in retirement? Some states will partially or totally exclude retirement income, including IRA distributions, from state income tax, which may, that could lessen the importance of doing this conversion. RMDs not applicable to Roth. A conversion or sum of the eligible amounts to a Roth IRA will reduce or eliminate your need to take those RMDs and pass on more to your beneficiaries. So married couples that file jointly with married adjusted gross income of more than 250 may be subject to that 3.8 Medicare surtax. So make sure that we're not violating that with the conversion amount, because that's going to throw them over the Maggie limit, and that's going to really impact them dramatically. So we've got to monitor where they are in their AGI and the gross income, and come November or December of every year, you can make that decision based upon how much can we convert without getting them into the next bracket. And obviously we want to keep them below the 250 mark if we can. Leaving money to others, inheriting Roth IRA assets, basically are going to be tax-free. It's going to reduce the size of a taxable estate. And conversion cost, it's best to use taxable assets to do that. So they've got to have some cash sitting around in order to pay those taxes as you go. It just makes it so much easier. Let's take out a case study of the Roth conversion, and this was done from a Fidelity a study that they did, that a couple age 55 with 190,000 in salary, $500,000 in IRA, and 130 non-qualified, and they were making $6,500 a year in new IRA contributions. So what if they started making Roth conversions each year from 55 to 70, taking them to the top of their bracket, which is the 28% tax bracket, which was $230,000. They could convert $40,000 a year for the next 15 years. So what's the impact on the amount of RMDs, the tax paid on the RMDs, and the account value in retirement? And you may be surprised with the RMDs, the RMD tax, and the account value at 95 with no conversion and with conversion. And it's amazing. The client can reduce their taxes paid by RMDs by 73%. They increase their overall wealth by 18%. It's a phenomenal idea for clients to look to lower or eliminate unwanted RMDs. Now, keep in mind, guys, that's with today's tax rates the way they are. If tax rates go up, these numbers could skew even better for the conversion, as long as those rates don't go up immediately tomorrow. Because if they go up tomorrow and they double tomorrow, then converting may be a lot tougher to do. Now, the whole thing comes down to this, guys. We have the ability to do partial Roth conversions on any of our contracts here at Athene. And what's great about this is if you have a contract in force at Athene and you want to do a partial Roth conversion, we're actually going to make what we call a child contract. It will have the same original issue date as your original contract. Matter of fact, it'll be the same identical contract number. The only difference is it will be 3300111 is the original, and it'll be 3300111A for the first conversion. The second conversion would be 3300111B. And that's how we will identify each of these contracts. They'll be separate contracts. They'll be identical clones of the original contract, and pro rata, proportionately, we will move the money over and to create these sub child contracts. They all will have the original issue date, and they all will come out of surrender charges on the same exact date as the original contract. It's just basically a mirror image of the original contract. Then what you would do is ask your DMI marketer for an application for a partial Roth conversion form. And when you do that, what it comes down to is this. It's a one-page simple form that you put in and you send in. And once it's completed, you will get a policy statement with the new policy number and the letter A or B or C or D, whatever letter you're up to on your conversion portion. And now you'll have multiple contracts for your client. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3. I don't think there's an easier process out there in the marketplace. I know there's another major carrier that's doing this, but you have to tell them ahead of time how much you want to convert. And we don't care. You tell us every year you want to convert a certain dollar amount, you don't want to convert, whatever. This is how flexible the process is here at Athene, and it's a great opportunity. What makes it even better is the product solutions that are available. You pick the product here at Athene, it doesn't make a difference. If you don't know, Athene is the #1 distributor of fixed index annuities in the country. And the reason we're up there is because of our relationships with partners like DMI and the great job they do in marketing our products out there. But the second reason is our products are really focused on income, accumulation, guarantees, and legacy. These are what clients want. We've taken a great deal of time to vet our index selections within our products on the efficient frontier. And if you have not seen our research, we're the only company that's taken our index selections in our annuities and plotted them on the efficient frontier. And we actually give you, the advisor, and your client sample allocations to make sure that they're allocating correctly and in the right place over time versus trying to time the index. It's a better way, a long-term positive way to make sure your client gets the best benefit with the least amount of risk. And this can be done for all of our products. And you just name the product, whether it's Performance Elite, Ascent, Agility, the BCA, Velocity, any and all of our products have this ability. The one that really resonates the most has been our Agility contract. And the reason for that is that's a no income, I should say it is a free income, a no fee income and death benefit rider on that with a 35% bonus to get into that contract. And because there's no fees, the growth in there is tremendous. And when you do trigger income on that particular contract, it's earnings indexed income that will continue to pay you an income for the rest of your life, but it will increase based upon every year. It'll increase based upon whatever the average crediting rate was applied to your policy from your index allocations. So if you earn 4%, then at the end of the year, your contract would go up by 4%. If I was getting $1,000 a month, 4% of 1,000 is I'm a math 400 bucks. And so now it's 1,400. That's 1,040, but essentially whatever the interest credited to your account is will be multiplied by the current income value. And every year that will go up. And if there's no credit made because it was a bad year, then you just hold true. It's a one-way ratchet for you. And what's so great about that is, think about this. If you took a client that had 700,000 and you bought an Agility 7-year contract, what you could do is over the next 7 years, you could convert $100,000 a year. And at the end of the 7th year, you have actually 7 contracts that are all Roths now, but only 2 of them are eligible for tax-free income for life. The other ones, you'd have to wait. They still have a 5-year wait for each conversion. But what's great about that is now you have multiple contracts. Now, let's say you want to turn income on 1 or 2 of them on, you can. And if you don't want to turn it on, you want to save it as a death benefit for a certain beneficiary or whatever it may be, you don't trigger it. But having multiple contracts give you more flexibility versus if you put all your eggs in one contract and then you turn on the ink, it's either all or nothing. And so that's the advantage of the Roth product solutions. Agility is a great solution there, as well as the Ascent bonus and the Ascent Pro. Both contracts provide great income, can be split out as well. And if you're looking for pure accumulation, you've got the BCA as well as Performance Elite. So that's our presentation today on Roth conversion. Hopefully we've opened your eyes up to the possibility of presenting this to a client. We have a lot of collateral that's available at the DMI University, as well as Athene Connect, that you can go on and read up on Roth conversions. Go into the insights section of Athene Connect, and we have a number of articles for advisors on getting educated to do Roth conversions. I'm going to turn it back over to Phil and to Glenn. I want to thank you for having me here today. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at manderson@athene.com.
Thank you so much, Mitch. Great presentation. I almost want to call this part of the presentation Phil's Corner, but I just wanted to check in with Phil and see if he had any thoughts around the presentation. And Phil, if you don't, that's okay too. So.
Well, it certainly started me thinking about clients that I personally have that have IRAs out there that I would like to bring the concept to them, especially where, they're in their mid to late 50s, and a number of them are in their 60s. They're holding, 100,000 of an IRA as a minimum. And I'm going to bring the concept up to them because I know they're going to need that money for income. And that means hopefully they will be open to doing some tax-free income. So it is a great concept, and it's a pretty simple concept. It's just like Mitch said, finding the right client. And Athene is well positioned with their products to really offer maximum accumulation and maximum income. So great idea. Great idea.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. And, you know, we did have a question on here, you guys.